So, welcome back to a special episode of Optometrists Building Empires. I'm your host, Ankit Patel. And today we're going to do something a little different. It's a special holiday episode. We're actually going to consolidate a lot of the findings and insight that we've gotten from many of our previous guests. And as you know, we've been focused on practice owners who own multiple practices. And so we're going to navigate some of the deepest and best insights and have actual action items that you can take away from this podcast. So this is going to be a dense podcast that hopefully you can use over and over again and repeat back and listen to whenever you get a chance. So let's jump right in. So the first thing that came up and I'd like to cover is detachment, delegation, and structured operations. Dr. Aaron Neufeld is a great episode for this. We heard some key principles around detachment. Rather than trying to micromanage every aspect of your practice, step back and view your operations from the outside. We often fall into a trap of thinking we have to do everything ourselves. Truth is, real growth happens when we trust others, define roles, and systematize. So one of the clear action steps you can take here are create detailed SOPs, which are standard operating procedures, use checklists, and empower team members to handle daily tasks. This just doesn't free up your time, it multiplies your impact. And one of the key lessons that Dr. Neufeld had shared with us was that you've got to have the patience to develop your team. It can take time to do that. The second lesson I want to cover today is building the right team with self-awareness. So Dr. Adam Paulo highlighted the critical insight of knowing your own limitations. Growing an empire means recognizing where you're good and where you might need some help. If you're the visionary but struggle with day-to-day execution, hire an operations manager. If you're brilliant clinically but lack marketing expertise, bring on someone who can do the marketing side. He talks about how he went through his journey with coming to that realization and how he started developing his team out. So one action step you can do here is make a list of your top strengths and gaps. Then specifically hire staff to fill some of those gaps. Either it's operations, billing, marketing, or technical support. The third item I want to discuss today is the art of hiring and onboarding. Two doctors, Drs. Michael Dittman and Dr. Tony Turin, both emphasized how good staff can be game changers. One A player in the team is much more valuable and can outperform B and C players exponentially. So how do you find these all-stars? Well, one approach is shifting from traditional interviews to working interviews and asking scenario-based questions. Dr. Dittman and Dr. Turin suggested probing how a candidate learns on their own is really how it reveals if they have a growth mindset. So an action step for you all might be to revamp your hiring process. Include a working interview segment. Ask candidates about a time they taught themselves a new skill and look for a genuine desire to grow. Now let's talk culture. It's the hidden gem of retention. From Dr. Jim Wood to Dr. Chad Fleming, we repeatedly heard how culture is so critical. Low turnover, positive vibes, staff recognition, and opportunities for professional growth keep team members invested. Whether it's implementing a kudos box, running a morning huddle or evening huddle, or emphasizing empathy and understanding, these are cultural touches that really keep your team engaged. So here's some action steps you can take. Start with a simple daily or weekly recognition ritual. Acknowledge wins, highlight someone's exceptional efforts, and encourage peer-to-peer recognition. At our offices, what we recommend is shout out with values. Our values are care, curiosity, always on stage, relentless, and elevated. We look for behaviors, no matter how small, that someone lived one of those values, and we shout each other out. Now let's talk streamlining through outsourcing and virtual assistants, which is my business care team specialty, but let's hear what the doctors had to say about it. Dr. Christopher Browning and Dr. Ankit Patel highlighted the value of outsourcing, specifically billing, IT, insurance verification, and even answering phones can be outsourced. And outsourcing is sort of a common term. I think the more modern term is global resourcing. So these folks who are global resources can handle administrative tasks, freeing up your in-office staff to focus on patient care and sales. That approach not only reduces staff costs, but it actually boosts efficiencies. In our offices at Classic Vision Care, we saw a 33% increase in revenue and about a 25% dip in cost when we started using global workforce. Because my team in the offices didn't have admin tasks, we were able to focus heavily on how do you take care of the patient in front of you. And we quickly found out if someone was able to do that or not. So here are some other action steps that you can take. You can identify at least one non-clinical function that you can globally resource. Consider remote billing, scribes, phones even to do this. And you can start small or you can go big, but getting the ball rolling is the first step. Now let's talk about staff cost and reimbursement pressures. Nearly every guest has addressed this. Staffing costs are rising, reimbursements are flat, and competition is growing. So what's the solution? Some owners like Dr. Chad Fleming created a purchasing organization to lower cost of goods. Others like Dr. Aisha Butt diversified into cash paying services like myopia control, Neuralens, dry eye treatments to reduce the dependence on insurance. The message is find ways to make your revenues more robust and cost structure even more lean. And I'll add to this, several doctors talked about these specialized exams. And dry eyes was probably the most common one that we came across, along with myopia control. But we did have some other folks talk about specialized medical treatments. And I encourage you to look back at some of the episodes for some of the insights that doctors had. So here are some action steps. Explore a high value, maybe even cash-based service line. Evaluate if especially niche or technology really meets your needs and you can really differentiate your practice from everyone else. And make sure it'll also help your financials as well. Should be a win-win-win. Win for the practice, win for the business, win for the patient. Now let's talk about embracing technology and AI. Doctors are excited about the future with new technology, AI, and maybe even things like teleoptometry on the horizon. From Dr. Dan Schott to Dr. Aisha Butt, many are investing in advanced diagnostics, remote monitoring, and telehealth services. This not only enhances patient care, but also expands your service range. Now, I know that remote monitoring is more complex and telehealth is a little more complex, but it may be worthwhile to just investigate what's in scope for your state and if it's something that you want to do as a practice owner. So some action steps are assessing technology that can help streamline operations and that can improve patient outcomes. Even if it's a small tech upgrade, like a more robust EHR upgrade integration or a communication platform, they can really exponentially pay dividends to you. Next thing we've heard around was mission, vision, and why. We heard from several doctors who really rooted in their bigger decisions in their mission and their why. Like again, Dr. Chad Davis talked about chasing passions and developing mission around it. Dr. Chad Fleming spoke about faith and service. Dr. Neufeld wanted to see independent optometry thrive, and he created ODs on finance with some partners. And Dr. Ryan Cork emphasized patience and patient-first mindset. A clear mission guides thorough decisions, prioritizations, and growth strategies. And one other thing I want to add here is Dr. Tony Turin talked about the impact of consistency of delivering your why, your mission, and making sure you take care of your patients day in and day out. So some action steps are clarifying your why and your mission. Maybe write it down, share it with your team, review it in your daily huddles. Make sure everyone understands the why we're here, who we're here for, how to do it. And delivering on consistency of that why and that mission is going to be really critical. A lot of our guests also talked about personal growth and mindset shifts. So many guests mentioned personal transformations, learning to let go of tasks, recognizing that you're not the smartest person in the room, or smiling more and giving positive feedback. Growth often starts with the owner's mindset. When you evolve as a leader, becoming more empathetic, patient, and open-minded, you create a ripple effect that influences the entire team and patient base. So an action step here might be to invest in your leadership development. Read books, attend workshops, join mastermind groups, or just improve yourself by just trying to learn as much as you can. And by extension, you'll also help your business out. So many of our guests, there are multiple practices. This is Optometrists Building Empires. So we talked about strategic expansion and growing wisely. Not everyone wanted to scale aggressively. Some like Dr. Browning found success in focusing on fewer locations done extremely well. Others like Dr. Neufeld are more strategically acquiring practices with aging owners and want to retire. It's about growing intelligently and in business model. Having the right team and the right systems and the right opportunities all in place to grow. And so an action step might be Before adding another location, ensure your first location runs like a well-oiled machine. Only expand, have strong leadership team, solid processes, and capital invest without overextending yourself. These are just some of the key insights that we heard from our doctors. And if you want to learn more, I encourage you to visit some of those episodes. You'll get some really great insights. These doctors have shown us several different types of blueprints. And some of the key learnings that were across the board is know yourself, know your weaknesses, hire complementary staff, invest in culture, training, and leadership, embrace technology and global resourcing, manage costs by focusing on cash services and strategic purchasing. Above all, stay true to your mission and consistent with your why and how you do business. As you kind of digest some of these lessons, consider what next steps might be. What action steps can you take? Maybe it's rewrite your interview questions. Maybe it's exploring a new specialty service. Whatever it might be, I encourage you to take one small step towards getting better. And if you're looking for support implementing these strategies, my team and I are here to help you if you ever have any questions. Whether you're defining your mission, optimizing your hiring process, or just integrating new technologies, be happy to help you out. Thank you again for joining me on this solo episode. And again, if you've liked or enjoyed any of the comments, any of the insights, please share this podcast, share this video if you're watching on YouTube or any video format with your friends, and like and subscribe. We'll see you next time on Optometrists Building Empires, and have a great end of the year. That's a wrap on another episode of Optometrists Building Empires. Thanks for joining. For show notes and more, visit buildingempires.live. This show is proudly sponsored by My Business Care Team. My Business Care Team was born out of staffing challenges my wife and I faced together, managing multiple optometry locations. We refined our approach at Classic Vision Care and now offer our expertise to others. If you're experiencing challenges with staffing and you'd like to set up a discovery call, we'd be happy to help you and connect you with the right resources. We'll see you next time.